Hey, what's up YouTube? Hey, I picked up this BakFlip MX4 tonneau cover for my 17 Colorado, Chevy Colorado, and this will also work with the Canyon, the GMC Canyon. Not a cheap cover by any means, and there's a lot of videos out there on these bad boys, but I want to address specifically some of the issues I have with this cover on the Colorado specifically. And this thing's not cheap. It's about 800 bucks. I think I got a deal online. They were having a sale, and I really did a lot of read a lot of reviews and looked at a lot of reviews on YouTube. So I won't go into the specific functions of this. If you're looking for how it functions, I mean, there's plenty of good stuff out there for that. But let me start off with a few things, and then we're going to talk about why I'm a little leery as to recommending this at the price point that it's at. Okay, so a couple things right off the gates. So these rails, they're non-screw-in rails. They're held in by these little clamps. They kind of pinch. With the Chevy Colorado, when you've got these bed, I don't want to call them protectors, along the top here, these bed rails, you need to put some shims that they do supply. They're like these foam shims between the bed and the, I really can't get in there to show you this, but between the side of the bed and the gap that the cover leaves on the inside of the bed. Not a big deal. Not a lot of grief there. It's a little tricky to get them pinched in there and get everything lined up by yourself, but all in all, I did this whole thing by myself, so it can be done. Watch the videos online of people installing them, because it will save you a lot of headache. The instructions that come with these, kind of crappy. I'm not gonna lie. They don't talk about the shims at all. They don't talk about a lot of the things that I kind of had a problem with. Now the other thing, let's see if I can do this. I had a lot of problem with is these plastic retainers. They're plastic. They're not going to last. I'll tell you right now. And I don't even know what they were thinking with this. But for 800 bucks, I would expect some nice metal retainers there to hold this bar when it's in this position. And again, if you don't know what they're for when you want to put the cover up, like you see it here, and you put those little bars in there. Bring this down, lock it so it doesn't fall down. And again, I'm not going to go into the specific features of all that. There's tons of stuff online for that. So let's start with my bitches. Okay, so these rails up there at the front, I hope you can see this. There's a metal plate there that, these, you'll see that little hand crank here to tighten everything down, where these bolts go through. Right out of the gates, as soon as I got this thing, one of them was bent, and I'm talking at a right across the middle at 90 degrees. So I had to bang the shit out of that thing with a hammer and a vise to get it straightened out, because there was no way I was going to wait for them to ship me another one just for a bent rail. And it was actually this one on this side. And you can kind of see it's not perfectly straight there, but good enough for government work. So let's talk about where my real complaint comes in. And this, to me, just seems like short-sightedness on their behalf. So, a couple things. One, I have the spray-in bed liner. This stuff is, not, it's very bumpy. So putting down something sticky on this stuff to hold is not going to work real well. And I'm not going to take this whole thing apart to explain this, but they do supply a rubber gasket that you're supposed to put right at the front of this part of the bed. It goes right along here underneath, and it sticks down. It's sticky. Problem is, let's see if we can show you this. There's almost let's say a third of an inch, maybe a quarter of an inch. It's kind of hard to see here. I'd say about maybe even half an inch almost of half an inch of gap between the bed and the top of this plastic side rail protector here, whatever you want to call it. Bed protector. But the foam that they supply you is about, let's see if I can get this in the view here. This is not going to be pretty. About that thick. So it's about about a ½ inch. So you're thinking, well, that's pretty good. I mean, you know, that should do it. Problem is that it never is enough to put pressure and squish this down to create a really tight seal. The other thing is with the, unlike the paint here where you see it's nice and smooth, where it sticks nicely, this spray material, this does not stick. So water will get under that rubber, and it will loosen all that stickiness up, and it will come right out. I think that they could have done a little bit better job of, instead of just having this rubber lip that kind of goes over and just barely covers. Let's see if I can get this up without, I don't know if you guys can see that. The sun out here is pretty bad, but just barely covering over where this piece of rubber goes so that the water runs down this way and then immediately back into the rubber. I would have liked to have seen them actually design this for this particular model a little further forward so it actually met up with the edge of the bed here, and this lip went down here and ran water down between the bed and the cab, just to keep the water runoff out of the bed. Also, you're going to see here this gap. Yeah, the water goes right through there. Water will go right through there and into this. Now, they don't sell this as a watertight solution, and I know that. But I think you can pretty much, you can kind of bake it in a little bit and I put an extra piece of that rubber right in there. This gap, I went to Home Depot. I bought a better sealed piece of rubber, a better quality. And I'll tell you right now, I had to run a clear silicone line of caulk, or clear line of silicone rather, all the way underneath that strip, get it down, and then I put another strip of that stuff right underneath here. And I'm sorry, I'm not taking this whole thing apart to show you guys this, but right underneath the bottom side of this, I put another piece on this way, so it smooshes together and creates kind of a seal between the two and forces that bottom piece of rubber down into that silicone nice and tight. So I'm taking it to the car wash today to see if that solved my problem with the, it was not a little bit of leaking, it was a lot of leaking at the front. If it minimizes it down to just a trickle, I'm fine with that. I don't really have a problem with a little water getting in there. I'm not, I'm not trying to make it completely watertight, but it was running down in rivers in the corners here and over there, just like I was pouring water into the bed. So something to know before you put that on. You might as well take the time, and I'm not a patient person, so this was a painful thing for me. Well, you just want to silicone down that rubber strip, and again, I'd go to Home Depot, get the actual Marine Auto water stripping, the thickest one you can find. Put a nice bead of silicone, clear silicone underneath there, push it down in there, let it sit overnight and actually dry, and I would, at the same time, on the flip side of the cover, put another piece so that they sandwich together. If you're going to be putting it on this application where you've got the, especially if you've got the spray and bed liner, because it just will not stick to it without that. So I hope that helps. But if you do decide to buy it, I hope that helps. Let me just show you a couple things though that, man, just again, for the money, I'm a little leery. And this is like little nitpicky shit, so I get it. This is a place where when the cover folds over, it rests on this nice little rubber piece here, right? No problem. Yeah, I like it. It looks good until you look over there and you realize the two things aren't even the damn same length. I mean, where's the quality control? I mean, that kind of stuff speaks to just the overall kind of less than $800 quality feel I got out of installing this. And then here's another thing too. I noticed these clips, when you pull the cable, obviously they release. This was barely, and I mean just barely, catching on to this rail here. I had to unscrew these and slide them all the way out to get them to catch on the rail and lock down. Otherwise, I could just lift this thing right up, it would just pop them loose. Also, as you look along this edge, see if I can get this in here, see how it jets out on this panel and then goes back on this panel, and we'll go around the other side and you'll see the reverse of that. I've got to figure out how to slide that panel over to make these things even, because that's just driving me to drink. And it just doesn't seem to want to line up correctly. And the only thing I worry about that is because the rubber's back this way away from this lip underneath, I could get some additional leakage there. So I'm going to try and fix that. I tell you, if you have a Toyota Tacoma, you should go out and watch the videos for those, because these side rails, luckily with the Chevys, all these little, you know, details run this way along the bed. With the Tacoma, they run this way along the bed and underneath this. So the water gets in these little tiny channels, runs right underneath and into the bed. So you may have to do some additional work there if you have a Tacoma. I know that we're not talking Tacomas right now, but if you have a friend who's thinking about getting one that has a Tacoma, I will give you that warning right now. Last but not least, I'm going to edit this in because I forgot it before I finished last time. I showed you guys these little pieces of the extra material that I put in right here at the edge of the bed. And you might be asking, well, why did you do that? And I will tell you that's another one of my complaints. Two things. One, I think this rail should have a cap on the end, because the idea is the water, if any water gets in here, it runs up to the drains in the front and it goes out between the cab and the bed, which I actually think in the Chevys, look, it's really well done where those vents are, the drains are. It's very unobtrusive. So a little cap there would have been nice. Not a big deal. I've seen shops cap these when they install them professionally. I have yet to figure out if I'm going to do that or not. I would argue that any water that came this way is going to drain out down here anyway. So I'm not trying to make it waterproof. What I'm trying to do though is trying to keep the water from getting in underneath the cap. Now, on the MX4, you don't have to close the bed before you close the top lid, because it's got these little rubber things here. Here's where my complaint comes in. Okay, so when this rubber's down, and by the way, there's another thing. This was peeling off already. I had to silicone this down too to seat it, but I'll try and flip this up. I don't want to tear up the silicone, but if you look right there, if I just flip this little bit of piece of rubber up, there's a direct line right into the bed. I don't know if you guys can see that. So, you know, with the rain coming in, or snow sitting up on top here, being in Colorado, I was getting a little extra water in this way. Not a huge deal again. And the other thing, but the other part of that, the reason that is that when you get this cover far enough forward to solve some of those problems we were having at the front that I already talked about, and you just barely, I don't know if you guys can see that, but you barely get this first piece of rubber up against this tailgate, so any water coming in under here will be deflected. I think it's enough. And again, I mean, you're talking about rain coming in from the back toward the truck, hitting here and going in. And again, where's it going to go? It's probably going to go straight down the gate. Not a big deal again, but just again, the little things, man, just little tiny things that just, put this cover not in the $800 price range, in my humble opinion. All in all, so far, so good for, as far as one thing I will give it is that I do like the hard metal. I do like the matte kind of finish to it. And it did come nicked in the one spot because it's got this matting. It's really hard to see. It's actually right up here. Could I have sent it back and they sent me another one? Probably. Did I want to wait again to do that? No, I didn't. So obviously it wasn't important enough for me to send it back. But just something to think about when you're thinking about covers. So, all right, that's it. I hope that was helpful. If not, don't click like. Vote it down. All right, talk to you later. Bye. All right, let's take a look and see if my little silicone trick worked. See a little bit of water coming in the side there. Talked about that on the video earlier. Comes in right through there. So apparently not much I can do about it, but again, it's just at the very end of the bed. But I'm already seeing water channeling down this way, so I'm pretty sure that my repair not as great as I thought. Yeah, see, we got stuff coming in here. So better though, overall. I gotta say that it's coming right down the same spots. So much for that. So just be aware. So yep, still got water coming in. So, but you'll notice it's not a lot, and that was under high pressure from the car wash, and it's just going right along the edge of the bed there. So in the big grand scheme of things, as long as you keep stuff in the center, outside this weld point, whatever you want to call it, I think you'd be fine. It's not going to get very wet, and even if it gets a little damp, so what? Again, the biggest concentration looks like is right here. You just saw a drip right there though. So I don't know. Not thrilled. with that, but given how much work I've had to put in to kind of get it to this point, so just more food for thought when you're thinking about buying one of these.